So once you click into the hunting regulations, you'll come to this page here. And this page can be a little bit intimidating if this is your first time hunting in Florida or you just moved in from another state because there's a lot of information and it might just seem like too much. But to break it down the best way possible, if you plan on hunting public land, natural wildlife refuges, or areas that are accessible to the public, the best thing that I can recommend is going to check out wildlife management areas or national wildlife refuges that are by you that you might want to hunt and just looking at their brochures because they'll break everything down that you need to know about that area. A lot of this is more pertinent, I would say, to private hunting. If you're on private land or have questions about hogs, things like that, just because hogs are open year round on private land doesn't mean that you can go to any WMA and start blasting. But for the purpose of this video, I will go ahead and cover some of these topics real briefly, just so that way you can at least have a little bit of a guide. But really take that rule to heart: is move to the WMA brochures and check out what their rules and regulations are. They also have a PDF download here that you can go into and click this. This is a good resource to be able to do that, and you can download that if you really want to look over everything bit by bit. Clicking into general information, you can see there's a ton of topics here. However, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to be hunting on public land, just utilize the WMA brochure and it's going to highlight all the major things that you need to know as far as like this information goes. I will highlight like for the trespassing section, Florida is a lot easier than some of the other states like in BLM land where it can be really tough to disseminate if you're on public or private land. For the most part, most WMAs that I've been on have cell phone service, so you can utilize onX. Which again, if you don't have onX, I highly recommend downloading it. They have some great features on there. But if you have questions on any of these, the best thing I can say is come here and check these out. Moving back to the hunting regulation page, I'm going to go ahead and skip to taking game as hunter safety requirements will be covered a little bit later in this video. Undertaking game, again, this is going to really go over what the definition of take is, as well as some of the prohibited measures of takes are. So, what I'll mention is that a lot of this is again more geared towards those that are hunting on private land or maybe for some waterfowl hunting aspects. But if you need to learn more about that, you can come to this page. But most WMA brochures are going to highlight that. Coming back to the hunting regulations section, we'll cover over the hunting zones as well as a season date and bag limits. But first, let me show you the map because think it helps paint a better picture before you go to the other section. You can see Florida is segmented by 4 different hunting zones, which is A, B, C, and D. In these zones, you can see that most of the counties on them are within a certain zone, but there's some like Pasco County that go from zone C to zone B, and you can see where those boundaries are and what marks them. But the main factor of these zones are the dates that you can hunt. So if you come over here to season dates and bag limits by zone, you can see that during zone A, they have an earlier season than all the other zones combined. And usually the more higher you go in the panhandle, the later the season is. But if you're planning on hunting public land, this is a good way to be able to match your schedule to which zone might make sense to go hunt and scout more. If you're on private land, this will show you when you can go hunt on your properties. And you can also see more as far as deer, turkey, and other game animals here that are listed. Again, for those more curious about hog season, you'll have to see the WMA brochures themselves because hogs are not considered a game animal. But you can also come down here and see the bag limits for deer, possession limits, and a little more information on those. One thing I also want to note here at the top is that you can see the different seasons. And a lot of questions I get is what you can utilize during these seasons. So you can see during archery season, only bows can be used. During crossbow season, you can use bows, crossbows, and air bows. Muzzleloader gun season, you can see that muzzleloaders as well as the other two can be utilized. And then general gun, typically all methods of take can be utilized to the left. So as you go progress through the season, it just unlocks more and more equipment that you can utilize. Now, the last thing that I want to note here is you can see we were looking at the deer section, but there's other areas that we can look at as well for different species. When it comes to gray squirrels, rabbits, wild hogs, raccoons, possums, skunks, nutrias, beavers, and coyotes, they may be taken year round by rifle, shotgun, pistol, muzzleloader, air gun, crossbow, or bow. However, this is 100% pertaining to private land. Don't plan on doing any of this at WMAs or national wildlife refuges outside of their respective hunting seasons. Okay, so again, this area might be a little bit confusing because a lot of people, again, disassociate what you can do on private land with what you can do on public. But that's why we're going to start moving over towards geared information on the wildlife management areas.